Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking an absolutely explosive, deeply personal legacy within the superhuman world. We're talking about Elias Voss. Now, if that name doesn't immediately ring a bell for you, his lineage definitely will. Elias is the son of Bruce Banner. Yeah, the Hulk. But look, his story isn't just some carbon copy of his dad's tragic accident. It's actually this fascinating, incredibly high-stakes study of genetics, suppressed trauma, and the terrifying weight of inheriting a living weapon. We're going to look at how a boy, totally hidden from the world, eventually became its literal breaking point, and how he fought to reshape that destructive legacy. Okay, let's dive right into this, because this quote right here, this sets the absolute scale of what we are dealing with. At 14, Elias Voss broke New York. I mean, just sit with that for a second. We're not talking about some standard teenage rebellion. We're talking about a literal cataclysm. But to understand how an adolescent boy could practically rip apart one of the greatest cities on Earth, we really have to go back to the very beginning, to a life built entirely on a foundation of well-intentioned lies. Section 1. A secret gamma legacy. So the existence of Elias Voss was literally one of the most tightly guarded secrets on the planet. And it wasn't kept by S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Avengers, but by his own mother, Dr. Lena Voss, who was a brilliant gamma specialist, completely hid Elias's existence from Bruce Banner and the rest of the world. And from day one, you can see the tension of his hidden biology just mounting. Even in the womb, his metabolic rate was so elevated it made ultrasound machines flicker. At birth, his tiny clenched fists actually cracked the delivery table, and he had these little emerald veins pulsing right under his skin. He was raised in a Brooklyn brownstone wrapped up in experimental dampening fields, fully believing his dad was just some secret agent. But by age 8, the illusion starts to crack. A bully shoves him on the playground, and Elias feels this spark ignite in his chest. He doesn't go full Hulk, but the sheer kinetic force of it sends the bully flying backward 20 feet through a fence. The rest of the world? They thought it was a localized earthquake. But Elias knew. He knew it was the caged animal inside him. And that brings us to this incredibly heavy anchor from his childhood. Anger is a door. Never open it. Imagine being a kid and being told that your most basic, natural human emotions are essentially a detonator. Dr. Voss was terrified, right? So she installs even more dampeners. She teaches him breathing techniques, meditation, and literally feeds him heavy suppression drugs disguised as his daily vitamins. She meticulously constructed a cage around his emotions just to keep the monster at bay. But as we all know, pressure inevitably finds a release valve. Section 2. Tragedy awakens the monster. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happened when that emotional release valve finally blew. And it happened in the most heartbreaking way imaginable. When Elias was 14, a drunk driver slammed into their taxi on the Brooklyn Bridge. His mother was killed instantly. Trapped in that wreckage, feeling his mother's blood actually cooling on his hands, Elias experiences a grief so profound that it totally bypasses every single chemical and mental block his mom had built. The ancient radioactive thing inside him just ignites. Now, he didn't become the full Hulk like his dad. Instead, he erupted into what the headlines later called the shadow of the monster. Picture this. A 12-foot, roaring adolescent titan, muscles rippling under green skin with wild black hair and eyes blazing white-hot. He goes on this totally blind, sorrow-fueled rampage, literally buckling bridges and flipping cars, driven purely by raw trauma, until he finally just collapses from exhaustion. Well, obviously, an event like that doesn't just go unnoticed. S.H.I.E.L.D., led by Maria Hill, extracts the unconscious boy from the riverbank within hours. They lock him away in this secret upstate facility, totally restraining him in vibranium chains. To them, Elias wasn't a grieving kid, he was simply patient zero. For 6 months they poke and prod him, studying what they call his perfect gamma inheritance, while keeping him locked away. They use dampeners way stronger than his mother's. But as you can probably guess, trying to permanently contain a gamma mutant? Yeah, that's never gonna work. It only delays the inevitable explosion. Section 3. Father, Son, and Control. So that inevitable explosion, it actually came from the outside. A fateful breach sets the stage for a really dark family reunion. A rogue Hydra strike team, completely obsessed with recreating the super soldier serum using gamma radiation, assaults the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. They want Elias as a living weapon, or worse, a breeding template. When the power goes out and alarms are just screaming in the pitch black, Elias's overwhelming fear mutates directly into fury. He transforms for the second time. Now he's a 15-foot Jade giant, tearing through heavily armed Hydra soldiers like they're made of wet paper. But he has zero control. The rage completely blinds him, and he nearly kills the very S.H.I.E.L.D. agents trying to help him.
At this point, he's just a terrified teenager lost in a nightmare of unstoppable power.
But then, right as he's rampaging toward the exit, this calm voice cuts through the absolute chaos. It's Bruce Banner. Older, tired, graying, but radiating that exact same quiet intensity. Elias freezes, literally holding a soldier dangling from his massive fist, and asks who he is, and Bruce delivers this incredible, sobering line. "I'm the guy who screwed up so badly that the universe gave him a son to fix it." It's such a powerful, heavy moment. Bruce doesn't fight him. He offers him an anchor. Together they escape in a stolen Quinjet, flying out west to the deserts of New Mexico to hide in an abandoned Gamma research bunker.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down the crucial biological differences between the two generations of Gamma mutants. Out in the desert, this became the core of Bruce's curriculum. So Bruce's Hulk is triggered almost exclusively by pure anger, right? He is raw, unadulterated power, a blunt hammer. But Elias, who starts calling his transformed state rage, is fundamentally different. His gamma bonds differently to his cells, making him way more stable. He gets triggered by all extreme emotions pushed past a threshold: fear, grief, even overwhelming joy. His power peaks are smaller, for sure, but he is incredibly fast, agile, and capable of these pinpoint strikes. As Bruce tells him, Elias doesn't have to be a blunt hammer. He has the potential to be a scalpel, and that changes everything. It means Elias isn't just a copy of the Hulk. He's an actual evolution.
Section 4. The Battle for Chicago. Because theory and desert spiring are one thing, right? But Elias's training was about to get the ultimate real-world test, and the stakes were instantly astronomical. Dr. Silas Crow, that rogue Hydra scientist, had successfully synthesized a serum from Elias's stolen blood. He calls it Gamma Dominion. By injecting willing soldiers, Crow creates this literal army of Hulklings, smaller, controllable green berserkers. His master plan? Unleash them on major cities, completely destabilize global governments, and basically rule the ashes. And they strike Chicago first. With the Avengers off-world and S.H.I.E.L.D. totally overwhelmed, it falls entirely on the father-son duo to intervene before the city burns to the ground.
By the time they hit the city at dawn, Chicago is literally a war zone. Bruce transforms into that roaring wrecking ball we all know. But Elias's transformation, it's completely different this time. It's smooth. He becomes an 8-foot lean powerhouse with white energy crackling along his arms like living lightning. And he's got this permanent green streak in his hair, a physical mark of his newfound control. This is exactly where we see the scalpel in action. While the Hulk just smashes through hordes of Hulklings, Elias moves like a storm. He leaps from building to building, delivering focused blasts that vaporize threats without leveling entire city blocks. At one point, he actually uses his immense power to catch falling debris, physically shielding civilians with his own body. He is protecting, not just destroying.
So the crucial point is this final cataclysmic clash in Grant Park. Crow, totally juiced on his own serum in a massive exosuit, turns Lake Michigan into a frothing cauldron. But together, Bruce's brute force and Elias's precision speed completely dismantle the suit. And as Crow falls, literally begging for mercy, Elias stands over him, fists raised, his rage just screaming for a killing blow. Hulk looks at him and simply nods, giving Elias the choice. And in that absolute make-or-break moment, he shrinks the power back. He crushes the serum device, but he spares the man. "We're not monsters," he says, "not today." In that single, deliberate act of restraint, Elias officially breaks his father's cycle of endless destruction. Section 5. Becoming Echo. Let's move to and see how this builds into something totally unexpected. That single decision profoundly altered his entire destiny. He decided he wasn't going to be a weapon. And he sure wasn't going to be an Avenger living in the blinding spotlight. Instead, he forges a completely different path. Years later, Elias and Bruce have built this real, if fragile, partnership based on genuine respect. Elias operates out of a small lab on the outskirts of a rebuilt Chicago. He uses his massive intellect to build dampening gauntlets to actually help other people dealing with unwanted powers. He's the one who answers the call when natural disasters hit or when the streets just need a shield. The people, they call him Echo. He and his dad operate as this synchronized team now, literally consulting on quantum calibrations one minute and deploying to handle rogue Hulkling sightings in the Pacific Northwest the next. The boy who broke New York actually grew into the man who mends cities. Which leaves us with this final, really vital question to reflect on. Are we bound by the destructive legacies we inherit, or can we choose to forge our own roar in the darkness? Elias Voss was literally bred from tragedy and gamma radiation. The whole world and even his own biology told him he was nothing but a monster. But through discipline,
a father's unexpected guidance, and just his own iron will. He chose a completely different definition of strength. He chose to be a scalpel instead of a hammer. It's just an incredible look at how we are not merely the sum of our inherited scars. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next one.